You're listening to the Southampton Dellivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans.
If you want to have guarantees, you have to buy a wash machine.
Fonte with a scooping header.
We don't lose a match, either we win or we learn. And today we learned.
Отдача, Остин! Все-таки забил!
It's infield to Mane, 25 yards out. Lovely ball for Bella. Onside, 1-0. Buffon shot! Oh my word!
Unbelievable. He ran around the pitch like Bambi on ice. It was very, very embarrassing to watch.
And now, your host, Matt Markstone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Dellivery Podcast, a podcast and newsletter dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans, available right here on SouthamptonDelivery.com. My name is Matt Markstone. I am the host of the show. No matter where you are, no matter how you may be listening, whether this is your first time or you've been here before, thanks for making the show part of your day. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope that you will find a way to enjoy the holiday season, even though Boris canceled Christmas and Mike Dean refereed our match. And though we may not have points to actually cheer about coming out of the Man City game, there are some things I think that we can celebrate, and hopefully we find a way to do that, to make the best of the situation that we are in. And joining me to do that this week is Jay Grant, who runs the Southampton Page, the official partner page of the show. If you don't already follow Jay in the Southampton Page on Twitter, please do that. It is at Southampton Page. The links are in the show notes as usual. But we're basically going to walk through the Manchester City game. And that's it. So we'll answer your questions. We'll do all that. And this will be the last you hear from us before Christmas. So Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I hope that you all have someone around you that you can celebrate with, even though it's definitely different from how we would all like it to be and how it normally is. But, all that considered, I hope that you are safe and well. And thanks for your support here. Thanks for listening. And we will talk to you on the other side. I'd like to welcome back to the Southampton Dellivery Podcast, Jay from the Southampton Page, the official and the first partner of the show. Jay, welcome back. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I'm not too bad.
Yeah. I mean, been a bit of a weird weekend. And I'm just going to start with a question. You could either have Christmas canceled every year, or you could have Mike Dean referee every match. Which one would you pick? You got to choose one.
That's a tough one. That's quite a tough one. I'd have to as well, because I like the food. I'm gonna have to say Mike Dean.
Okay. Well, at least you still get to see the matches happen, right? Like,
yeah.
You know.
I mean, yeah.
So I guess we'll take that. But I wasn't sure what I was more disappointed with yesterday. Waking up is checking Twitter, seeing that Mike Dean was indeed in charge of the match, or hearing that basically Boris had canceled Christmas. Which, to be fair, in the United States, we're under the same thing in California, so we'll hopefully get through it. The good news is I should be awake for the Boxing Day fixture instead of kind of still awake from the night before, so that'll be nice. But anyway, this is going to be the last regular episode of the year. Next week on Tuesday, whatever the date is, I don't know, will be the Dean Hammond interview that we did in conjunction with Saints Archive. So that'll be the second Total Recall that'll be out. So that'll come out. But so there won't be any questions or anything. But this week we're here to talk about, obviously, the City match, and definitely not the result we wanted, but we'll get into all that. And I just wanted to. I'm glad you're doing okay. I mean, we've been talking for a little while beforehand, and given the circumstances, I know it's not really Not the best of times, but you're doing all right, and I'm glad. That makes me happy. So, So, if you don't mind, let's just, I guess, jump into the match. Unless you want to talk more about Christmas being canceled.
No thanks.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, obviously, losing to Manchester City is not the worst thing in the world. But let's start with, I guess, your initial reaction. Because I think there were two reactions online, it seemed like, and it was either you were happy with the performance and disappointed we didn't get a result, or you were you were somehow angry because we lost at home. But I think most people tended towards we put in a good performance. We're worried about Danny Ings, and we played pretty well without creating a number of clear-cut opportunities. But we're okay. And I'm not sure kind of where you fall on that spectrum somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy with the performance. It was just, I said it was, a lot of it was to do with the decisions in the game. And like I said, seeing Danny going off injured is always a worry for me anyway. And it's hard to be too critical because we've been doing so well. And as we know, Man City is a good side. But it's just one of them maybe where if a chance would have fell for us, like with Redmond's chance, maybe it could have been more than a defeat. We could have got at least a point out of it, and I think that's what I think we could have served at least in that game.
Yeah, I think had we gotten a draw out of it, it would have been fair. But I do think there are some good things to take from it. But obviously, the Danny Ings thing is the most worrying of everything. And if we kind of just start with the lineup that's there, we played 3 games in the space of a week. The team unchanged from Sunday to Wednesday, right? And then just the one change coming into this game. I was kind of looking down the lineup, and Theo's there, Ings is there, and those guys being, Ings, given Ings' injury history, and then given Theo's age, I was kind of worried if those two specifically could do it. But then Ings did come off the bench earlier in the week, and so he's working himself back. But what was there any concern for you with the lineup that Ralph put out? We know he doesn't really like to rotate, and it's one of the things. If we've been critical of Ralph at all, it's been the use of other people other than the people that he tends to name in the starting lineup. But were you at all concerned with the fact that he left so many players in there that had been playing so many minutes this week?
First of all, Ramey was always a dodgy one because we knew he was one yellow card away from suspension, and it was one of them where if we were going to bring in Diallo, did we bring him in against Man City? But then there were people on Twitter saying if we need a Ramey still because of how tough the Man City game would be, and then obviously with Ings, it was. I think the thing is with me with Ings is I was mixed. Obviously, I wanted him to start, but then in the back of my mind, it was telling me he's done 3 games, and this will be his 3rd game of the week, and he might get an injury. I did think it, and I didn't want to say just to jinx him or anything, but it was one of them. And I think the question is, if it wouldn't have been, I think Ralph said this in his press conference after, had it not been Man City, he may well have left him out. But that's the thing. Should he maybe left him out against Arsenal in midweek? If he was going to definitely start him in this game yesterday with the risk of an injury potentially.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think part of me thinks, you think back to last year on Boxing Day where we were just worried if Ings wasn't in the lineup, we weren't sure if we were going to score, and so we had to have him in. And when are you going to set him? We set him on Boxing Day, we score goals, we win the game. We're definitely not better without him, but we've seen that we can actually play with teams even without him in the lineup. And so I wasn't sure, and I want to trust Ralph, and I want to believe in his judgment, and I want to know that he's not just going like, yes, I'm picking this guy, and that he's looking at the data and looking at their recovery and things. But it's always a worry, and that's one of the things like with his history, you just worry about him getting injured, and I don't know, man. I guess the good part of it is as soon as Ings went down, they pulled him off, and it's probably a decision between Ings and the medical staff and everything else that, hey, we're not gonna risk this further. If he has to miss a game, I guess Fulham isn't the worst game. Like we can hopefully, like fingers crossed, I've now jinxed it, that we can get through this. And then I guess also with Romeu, if he's gonna miss a game, if Diallo's gonna come in and play, I'd rather have him play against Fulham than against Man City. I don't want to risk his confidence mostly coming into play against Manchester City, who could very well tear us apart and didn't. I was super impressed with the performance yesterday, even though we didn't get a win. And we've seen Saints do a lot of things. We've seen them play ugly, and win against Brighton. We've seen them play really, really well, and we've played like decently and gotten a draw, and then we played really well and lost, but or at least decently and lost. We'll talk about that. But Yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be some changes going forward for that match, and I think most of the team will stay the same probably for Fulham, and then we'll probably see a little bit of rotation after that because we have kind of a full week and then some games in quick succession. But anyway, let's get into the match itself. And we kind of talked about a lot of things, and Mike Dean is in charge, and he likes to let everybody know that. But the game started pretty brightly, I think, for both sides. There was a lot of pressing. It's kind of a back and forth. And then City kind of, let me yell at the children one more time. I would say that the start of the game was bright from both teams. There's a lot of pressing. It was very clear that both sides were going to come and try to play the game that their managers would have wanted, and that was, I think that's how Saints have been going recently, where Ralph hasn't changed game plans. He didn't go to a back five and say we're going to sit deep and do this. I thought Saints did really well, and I thought they had keyed in on a couple of players. It seemed to be when there was a chance to press. I think. Maybe when Rodri got the ball, the Saints seemed to go and press really hard, and they would just wait for those triggers, and I think that's another sign of Saints being really well drilled under Ralph and stuff like that. But of course, City are going to grow into the game. City are going to have possession. They want to have possession at home or away, and they haven't been scoring as many goals, but they did start to build into it, and then they did wind up getting a goal that was ruled out for offside from a set piece. But I mean, how were you worried at all when you see the start of the game and you wonder, how long does this last until, City tear us apart, or were you at all worried about that?
The thing is, that's what City are good at. When obviously we normally try and start quite fast, and we did that for a little bit, and then City, which the commentators made a point of, and it slightly irritated me, but I thought City are always like that. They do that to teams. Once they start to get into their flow, they are. I mean, that's why they're one of the best teams in the league. I mean, they might not show it on the league right now, but if you get once you get Kevin De Bruyne, Sterling, them sort of players working together, they do become quite hard to defend against. So it was going to be a bit of a back to the wall job, and I was worried that they might, if they did get a couple of goals early, then that might have been at the end for us.
Yeah, and I mean, the game itself was fairly even. There was a period of time where we were sat pretty deep and we couldn't kind of get out. But then we also had some chances, and I think Ings had a chance that was blocked early. And I want to say that Vestergaard, that ball from Vestergaard to Kyle Walker-Peters, which has been a revelation this season. His long passing has been fantastic. And that was kind of the ball for us for a while that was creating some chances. And City adjusted to that, and we had to adjust as well. But if we talk about their goal, I was initially watching it first time a little bit critical of the communication between Bertrand and Vestergaard. But then afterwards, you see some of the replays and you see how high Djenepo is, and he's kind of just there. He's not pressing. He's kind of just caught, and they just bypass him. And then it leaves basically a 3-on-1 for Bertrand until it's a 3-on-2 for Vestergaard. And Adam Leach was talking on the Final Whistle podcast, and Dean Hammond as well, that, City are still world-class players. They still are full of a team of world-class players. And they are going to exploit little mistakes like that. And they did. So maybe we were a bit naive. Maybe we just missed the trigger for pressing and we didn't drop off. And that's, we're going to make mistakes. No, we're not expecting anybody to play a perfect game. And I think that's just kind of what happened there. And we have to give them credit. And sometimes Raheem Sterling misses those chances, but he managed to convert that one. And it was just a good move from them, I think.
Yeah. And like Dean Hammond said on the podcast, that City have always been, even if they've not been on the best of forms, they've got them players that can change a game for them. And like I said, I was with you on that, but everyone was pretty critical on Bertrand and that. And the thing is with Djenepo is he's still, for me, still in that learning process. So probably it's one of them. And I was actually thinking, obviously this was before the game, that Redmond might have started, so he may have had Redmond in front of him rather than Djenepo. But obviously Ralph went with Djenepo to replace Armstrong.
Yeah, and I was with you there, and Djenepo he's kind of the wild card. Like, he can create a lot. He's created more chances off of a dribble, beat more players than anybody else on our team. But sometimes I think that the relationship between Bertrand and Djenepo isn't quite the same. And Redmond, to be fair, looked good the previous two matches, and when he came on yesterday, had a bit of a nightmare. But we'll come to that later. But Djenepo is young. He's out there, and he's going to have to learn, and he's got to learn in a tough situation here. And if Ralph is going to put his trust in him, there's very little reason for me to question that so far. Even if it's easy to look back on the results and say, hey, that didn't work, and that's why. But it's tough to say to Ralph, start Redmond, because Redmond hasn't been up to it. He hasn't had the best of seasons. Although I did appreciate at some point on our commentary here, because they have the pitch microphones all around, you could hear Ralph when it was time for Redmond to come on saying, ready, get ready, which was great. Just because I like hearing the coach say things. I don't know. That probably makes me, you don't have to, it doesn't take much to impress me, obviously. But anyway, let's come on to one of the big decisions. Is there were a couple of chances yesterday where VAR could have gotten involved. It didn't. We all know Mike Dean, over 3,000 yellow cards, over 100 red cards. He did wind up booking Oriol Romeo, so we'll miss him next week, but we'll come to that. So, I mean, let's talk about the Ings chance, because we didn't really create very many clear chances, but when we do have that ball put into the area and Ings is going for it, he is obviously appealing for a high boot, and he's being, but what is your thought on that initially? I yelled at the TV initially because I thought it was a penalty, but what about you?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was the same as you. I looked at it straight away, thought penalty. When you put the player puts your boot up that high against the player's back, they normally do, as normally say it's a foul. So it was a bit of a weird one. But my first view, and I think I looked at it again after, and I still think it was a penalty. But it seems to me that the VAR looked at it for 1 second and was like, nah, moved on. That's how it feels to me. I mean, they might have looked at it properly. I don't know, but for me, it looked like it was a rushed, quick look at, and they went, no, it wasn't that dangerous, moved on. But I thought it was like a blatant penalty to me, but that's my view.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we are Saints fans, so probably a little bit biased, and that's okay. But I think it's maybe, looking back on it, one of those ones where if Dean gives it initially, it's probably not getting turned over. But because he doesn't give it, it's probably also not getting turned over. And I could be completely wrong, and we were talking about this off the record before, but like the kind of feel like certain referees are less likely to change their mind. And I feel like Mike Dean's that way. I could be completely wrong. There could be several instances where he's overturned or VAR has overturned his decisions, but he seems like the kind of guy who says, like, I made a decision and that's what it is. And that's probably unfair on him, but whatever. I'm not going to really apologize. I think that there was a definite chance there. And even if Ings isn't, he does still kind of get contact on the ball, but I mean, there's a foot there that's going to change your reaction, change the way you kind of look at things. If that foot is coming up, even if you see it and you still say, I have to be brave and go for the ball, it's still going to alter your body shape and everything else. So I'm not willing to say that it didn't affect Ings's kind of decision or the quality of contact he got on the ball. So I'm unwilling to give Dean credit there for that. But anyway, let's move on, because it's just going to make me angry, and it's 7:00 in the morning. I don't need to be that angry yet. I've already yelled at the kids, which you didn't hear on the show, but they're scared. Anyway, what did you make of Theo Walcott in this game? Because I thought he played really well. He did a good job finding space between the lines. He seemed to be allowing Walker Peters to get forward, but also helping out defensively and getting into positions where he could get the ball. But I think yet again, Walcott was super impressive in whatever role we deployed him.
Yeah, I mean, ever since Walcott's come back to the club, I mean, I've just been excited. I mean, probably too excited. But every time I see him play, I just see him just improve. And I think he's really surprised a lot of people. A lot of people, I remember when he was signing, people said, why are we signing him? He's too old. he's going to stop the development of Nathan Teller. He's going to, do you know what I mean? There was not everyone. I mean, most people were happy with that and were supportive, but there was a little bit of negativity towards him because of his age and thinking that's not Ralph's type. But since he's come in, I think he's actually made us tick, and I think every role he's done, like when he had to replace Ings while he was out, I think he's always done well. And for me, when he's on the wing, he always looks good, and obviously the pace. You wouldn't think at his age, with that pace that he's still got enough pace to in defenders. So I think it's been perfect coming back.
Yeah, and I thought that once City scored, the team kind of stepped up. The team played a lot better, and that's something that we haven't always seen from Saints. We've seen us kind of collapse at times, but I think we kind of were there, kind of going toe to toe with them, and I thought that was that meant a lot, I think, to the team. But from the time that City scored until halftime, they had more possession, but we had 7 shots in that period. And I would say that if you're looking at us during that time, we were fairly dominant. You know, we were pushing them back. We were creating some chances, and they were half chances. They weren't clear cut, but we were in the game, right? And I think that was super impressive. And Walcott played a big part in that. The only other thing that was kind of concerning to me is at some point both Romeu and Ward-Prowse were booked kind of late in that half, which means Romeu misses the next match, and it just meant that both midfielders were on yellow cards, which I didn't like, but it didn't really change the way we played. And then, of course, Ings goes down injured, and we kind of talked about it already, but Ralph made the decision to bring on Tella instead of, you look at the bench and you think, well, Redmond's probably going to come on for Walcott, or maybe Djenepo goes over to the right side, Redmond comes in on the left, or Armstrong comes in, or whatever it is. But instead he goes with Nathan Tella, and that's a big call from him. And Tella did play up top for a while. He got out wide, he put in a couple of crosses, but I guess that shows that the playbook, or whatever you want to call it, is being taught all the way down through, and Ralph has given credit to the young guys, and then he brings them in here to actually give them a chance to say, here it is. And I don't want to say Tella was brilliant, but I would say that he kind of held his own for much of the game.
Yeah, and the thing is, Ralph's always said he's not afraid to give people debuts or bring them on when. I mean, he's played. I thought when Tella came on, he did okay, and I think he's still got a lot of progress. I mean, he got a hat trick on last week. I think was it last week against the Leicester? I might be wrong, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. But he got a hat trick last week, the B team, and he looked really well. He played really well in that game, and I think, why not? I mean, if he's ready and has to, he's got faith in him, then I don't see a problem with it. And the thing is, for us, he's always said he would bring in whoever, and I think more for it, more you have better, I'd say. Yeah,
I mean, his overall rating was just under a 6, so not spectacular by any means, but I don't know. He came in, he was asked to do a lot, and I don't know. I'm not exactly sure why he came in and played centrally initially, but once again, that's a decision I wasn't really sure. I figured that Walcott would go central because we've seen that in the past, but didn't happen. And maybe Tella won't be the first one off the bench next time in that instance, and we'll come to what we think is going to happen at the Fulham match in a little bit. But going into halftime 1-0 down was probably just about fair. We did have a couple of chances that we, hopefully would have converted. I think, thinking back, Vestergaard had a couple of headers that were there. He was getting open on corners and free kicks, and there was a chance where he was basically free and just stooped underneath the ball and headed it over. And I think that's the chance. And then the Adams chance was actually probably the best chance of the game, where he didn't get to the header at the back post. But I don't know. It's tough to be really, really critical of the team there. And then I think in the second half, I thought, I just have written here, Theo is an example of exactly how you should play the game. He was tracking back. He was everywhere. He was chasing balls down the alley. He was doing everything that you ask, putting in tackles. And I just thought, like, that's if you're a young player and you're watching the game, this is the person you want to kind of model yourself after. This is exactly what you should be doing. And that's an example to Tella and Nlundulu and to Janebo and Redmond as well. Like if you want to play, you have to outwork me, and you have to come, and you're going to have to take this spot from me because I'm not here just to be here. Right. And I think that to me is something that I've truly enjoyed about him, because I wasn't convinced about him when he first came in. I wasn't sure that was the right move, but I've been proven wrong, I think, through that. So I just thought that when we look at City through portions of that second half, and we were completely inside their half, including both center backs, and they were sitting with basically 10 or 11 men behind the ball and defending against us. That's something that I'm not sure I would have seen us do, or nor expected us to do, not even under Ralph, but let alone like under Puel or Pellegrino or Hughes or anybody else, right? Like this, so I think the team has got a respect from other teams, from City to United to Chelsea and Arsenal. I think they all look at us and they go like, we're not that we're in trouble, but we're gonna have to really play well if we want to get anything from this match. And I think that's something that I can be proud of, even though we couldn't come away with a win.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've noticed a lot of comments from different managers who've said how well we're doing, and I think this season, I don't like to put too much targets on us, but I think we've got the look of a team that should be going for Europe, like the best, as they call it, the best of the rest. I mean, I like where we are at the moment. There's still a lot of games to come, and obviously if we get injuries, it makes it tougher for us. But I don't see why not this season. We can make this the season we get back into Europe. We've done it before. So I think if we just carry on the way we're going, I don't see why we can't end the season on a high in May.
Yeah, I think there's absolutely every chance that we could do that. And looking at, we won against Manchester City at home last season. But if you look kind of at the way we created about the same number of chances we did this year as last year. We were better defensively this year versus last year. And I think if you just look at stats, going, and not the stats are everything, but I think if you look at possession, it was more even this time. Chances more even than last time. XG was more even. Shots were more even. Everything was. This wasn't a one-sided affair that where we got battered 1-0. Versus last year, City had 26 shots in this fixture last year, but we managed to win. And so you look, and I would say that the only real thing that I worry about is us just not creating really clear-cut chances. And it's just what happens. And looking also at this is you look at how much both teams pressed each other, which I thought. We were basically we got to witness a really good game of football, I guess, and I think neutral fans would have enjoyed it, and I would have very much enjoyed it had my team not been losing 1-0, and Mike Dean not been the referee. But other than that, like I'm totally fine.
Yeah, and to be fair, it was Edison. I mean, he's a clever goalkeeper, and I thought he's really. I mean, some of the things that I kept saying. Thinking, look, if we keep running at him, he's going to make a mistake. But every time we go up to him, he would manage to get the ball either away from us or we'd pass it quickly. Like, it seems that he doesn't have any fear. You look at him, he's just, and I said, you think he's defending the way he plays at the back there? Like, literally. So, and I think sometimes you just get them days. When you get them days when you think, one chance we can do, and it just, and in the end, City. You probably noticed towards the end of the second half, City's become a bit not part. I don't know if part of the bus is the right word, but they seemed to their defence seemed to go solid, and it was quite hard. And obviously, we had a couple of youngsters up front. We took off obviously Ings, and we took off Che, obviously because of probably looking ahead to Boxing Day and all that sort of thing. So it was in the end, City eventually managed to shut us down, didn't they? Really, I think. Yeah,
and once again, City are. One of those teams where they're very good and they're going to do this sort of thing. I want to say they allowed a goal against West Brom, but I think it was an own goal. And going back, I don't think anybody has scored against them since Liverpool. So in the league, so they are a very good team and they've been better defensively. We didn't score against them, last year I think we had to score from 45 yards. Is that what it was? So like it's because. because Ederson was indeed playing midfield that day instead of goalie. But that's just kind of how it goes. But at the end of the day, I think if you watch the reaction that Ralph and Pep had at the end of the match, nobody was. It was different than last year where they were kind of yelling at each other and doing that, and Pep was super angry. But this year, and maybe it was just Pep's a sore loser, but they both seem to say, good game, well done, all that stuff. Like the teams went out and they played. Everybody played their game. They made little tactical adjustments throughout. And really, I just don't think you can complain too much. I do want to point out, though, we should have had one more shot, but Redmond just right when he came on the pitch, you were hoping, you were really hoping that something was going to happen. But the swing and a miss as the ball coming across him was pretty bad. And looks like something that I would have seen had I been playing on Saturday or Sunday morning. And you feel bad for him because he just had a couple of nightmare touches coming into the game. And you think, like, if he's in the game for a little bit longer, does he do better? And you hope he does. But I feel for him because this is, he's not had a great season. He's lost his starting spot, and then he comes in and has that happen. And it's got to be, even with only 2,000 fans in there, it doesn't, you do that a couple of times and people are going to get on your back.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've been a big fan of Redmond, to be fair, but it's tough for him because he's had injury, come out of the team, and so I think there's and it's always silly when people say this, but he needs just a little bit of confidence. It seems if he would have started the game, like you said, maybe he would have probably gone on and finished that and probably would have got more, because I thought he wasn't starting the game personally, so, and maybe he'll start against Fulham and probably prove everyone wrong and have a worldie, but it's like I said, it's getting that confidence, and we need our players to be on top form if we want to have a good end to, obviously, because there will be some games that we'll need players to step up if things isn't about, and then he's the sort of player we need to be like that.
I think we need him to earn his spot back, and I think we need it not like we have to make him earn his spot back, but I think the team will be better when he earns his spot back, because I still think that Nathan Redmond in form, I would take that over Djenepo on the left. And I'm not at this point, though, I think Walcott should start, but I also think that it's probably Armstrong on the right and Walcott on the left. And Armstrong's been a little bit off, so maybe if Redmond's informed, then you have Redmond on the left and Walcott on the right. But I think an informed Nathan Redmond offers us a lot, and he just hasn't been informed for so long now that you can't. I guess I don't expect him to be informed. I don't expect him to put those chances away yet, because I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see it from him, and it's part of what happens, and he'll have to play his way out of it, I guess. But maybe we will see him get to start against Fulham. We'll have to see how training goes and all that stuff. But I think the only other thing we could have talked about was there were two handball decisions that neither one went our way. One was in the box, could have been called for a penalty. I think the players appealed for it. I think Mike Dean waved it off, and then where it clearly did hit a hand or an arm or an elbow or something. And then you have Kyle Walker-Peters trapping a ball with his chest, with his shoulder maybe, but it being called for a handball. And that was, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but Mike Dean really, I was not happy with those decisions, because it seemed like he was swayed a little bit by the fact that the City players called for one and got it, and then when the Southampton players called for one, they didn't get it. And I don't know if Mike Dean realizes that we were indeed inside the top four at this point. So, like, we're supposed to be getting those decisions if anybody is, right? Like, isn't that how it works?
Oh, yeah, of course. And, and the handball rule has been controversial all season. I mean, there's been a couple of decisions, like for James, obviously his jump was a little bit awkward, but he's had decisions against him for his hand. Like I said, the one with Kyle Walker-Peters when he jumped up, I mean, it probably was a handball, but then, like I said, then there was an incident for us, and it was like, well, needs to be a bit consistent. And like I said, Mike Dean's always known for being a bit of a, I don't know what it is, I don't know what, sort of saying it in the most polite way, it seems like he likes to make himself the
yeah,
that's the right word, main man, I suppose. Is that the right word? Make himself the man of I don't know what the.
Yeah, no, he likes to be the star. He likes to make sure people know he is refereeing, which is not.
He's the lead role. That's it.
Yeah. Not what you want. Also, if you hear kids in the background, those are kids. That's what they do. They make noise. So hopefully we'll drown it out. Or I'll snap and yell, and then that'll be great too. Which is what I wanted to do at Mike Dean yesterday. But that's okay. And I will say, I tried to get the kids to spend the night before, my nieces. Tried to get them to spend the night so they would have woken up on the morning of the match, because then I don't care. But instead, I was overruled, and we have morning of podcast, which is not ever when I want the kids to be at my house. Anyway, 1 second. Well, let's get into some questions, and then we'll move forward. So, Stephen Brandt, one of the patrons of the show, just so everybody knows, patrons have priority for having their questions answered on the show each and every week. They also have access to a private Discord channel, which is just patrons. And then the $5 a month patrons get extra episodes of the podcast each month. And there will be a couple of bonus episodes, because we had one during the midweek match for Arsenal, and we'll have one for the Fulham match and then for the West Ham match as well. So if you're a patron, you get those. If you're not a patron, obviously you don't. But Stephen Brandt says this: how does it feel to go into a match knowing that most of the league is now having to play up to you, i.e., we're in the European places, we are above them in the table, but also, I'm going to add this, that our form is in our system is working in such a way that other teams have to come in and adjust to us instead of the other way around. And I guess to you, I mean, how big of a change is that to you, given what we've been through, I guess I want to say since Koeman left, probably.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Everyone mentions about Koeman, but all the media seems to mention is the fact that we lost a game in October by a certain amount of number, and that's the change everyone goes for. But that's another story, anyway. But no, I just think we're back to that sort of Koeman sort of look about our side. We've got a manager which I've never thought. Well, I mean, when we first took over, it's nearly his anniversary was 2 years ago, a couple of weeks back, and I never thought we would get the football back that we've seen when we've had to deal with Pellegrino, Gill, Mark Hughes, that sort of football, and to see us how we are now, we look like a force again, and that's all the fans want, isn't it? And I think enjoy this run while it lasts, and enjoy Ralph while it lasts. Obviously, everything doesn't last forever.
Right.
But exactly on that note, but
yeah. I think for me, the biggest thing is that we are respected now in the league. Nobody is coming to St. Mary's, nor do we arrive at other places and teams go like, it's just Southampton, right? Like nobody's saying that right now. No, I don't think teams want to play us. I think teams look at the way we press, and we are probably the most high pressing team in the league at this point. I mean, and Liverpool have backed off a little bit, City have backed off a little bit, but if you have players who are at all vulnerable on the ball, we're going to take advantage of that. And we seem to have figured out a little bit. Vestergaard figured out how to jump, which is nice, because now even when teams try to play over the top or play up to a forward, we have somebody there battling with them. And when you think back to the Everton match, Dominic Calvert-Lewin was hardly even there in the match, which we just completely took him out of the game, which I was really impressed with. And just the team is playing in such a way that it's nice to know you walk in and you are expecting something from matches. We were expected to get a win at Arsenal. We were expecting, maybe not expecting, but we all felt like we had a chance to get something against City, and we definitely did. We were right there. Even the stats suggest we were there. So I'm pretty happy with all of that. Let's go on and talk about Walcott a little bit, because I know we were talking how much you enjoy Theo, and you were watching the team when Theo was there the first time. I was not, so I don't have that connection with him. But he's still he's a very nice player. I'm enjoying watching him now. Colt Baker says, with how well Walcott has been in the team so far, what do you think the likelihood is of him coming on permanently at the end of the season? Do you expect him to come in at the end of the season? His contract is up at the end of June in 2021, so he's got 6 months left on his contract. Would you take him at his age? He doesn't fit the age profile. He is currently 31, and he will be 32 by the time his contract expires. would you, given his form, given kind of the leadership that he has, I'm kind of leading you here, which is not great questioning, but would you take him at the end of the season?
I mean, I think you know my answer already, but I will say, but it's a no-brainer for me. I mean, I look at it. There's a few ways you've got to look at it. He's going to be a free transfer, so we're not giving Everton any money. Yes, okay, the age is not Ralph's normal thing, but I look at it in a different way because you made a point earlier. Players can thrive off. So even if Theo's not playing, he can give them youth players like the Nathan Tellers, Gineppo's, that sort of even Redmond possibly, that experience, and if they need to come to him for a vault, I think he'd be a good player to keep around, even if he's not playing as much. But you look at him, how he's been playing, like you said, why would you not want to keep him around? And I think I don't know if I'd offer him possibly a 2-year contract. I don't know, someone said maybe a year, but I think it's a no-brainer. I said he's a free transfer, and I said I love him, so I'd keep him anyway, probably if he played rubbish for the rest of the season. So, yeah. And there you go. So I mean, as you said, I'm probably easily, what was the word? I think you were saying about hearing Ralph, a bit like that with Theo. You know, like, easy excited, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't take much to make me excited.
That's yeah.
Which sounds, don't clip that out. That doesn't sound great. Kids are present, so family podcast. Anyway, yeah, and I think I would take him. I think I'd be okay with that because I just think the injection that he's given the team and the number of roles that he can play, he fills in a lot of the gaps. And, I don't want to build the team around him, but I also think that he can offer us a lot, especially because we have so many young players that we need to bring through, that they need to learn from somebody who's been there, who's won trophies, who's, played in Europe and all that stuff. And I think that's what we have with him. I have a couple of questions about Fulham, but we'll come to those in a minute. So we'll go down to some of the questions from Instagram, and people can also just look for the questions post on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or you can send your questions in to southamptondelivery@gmail.com, or there's a contact page on the website. And I do have to apologize again because Andy Dean, I did answer your question. We had an email exchange. I feel like a giant idiot. But if you send in a question, hopefully we'll answer it. And if not, I'll apologize unnecessarily because that's just what happens. But thanks to everybody who did that. We kind of talked about, starting Ings versus bringing him off the bench. And I think if you look at the City match, maybe this is the match that you should have rested somebody, but it's hard to say that looking back. And if Ings doesn't get injured, maybe we don't say anything. So it's difficult there. And we kind of covered that. Al Capone 156 kind of says, like, we played well. It didn't come off for us. We talked about the Mike Dean decisions. And so we'll leave that there. And then there's a question here from Chillin VB on Instagram. And if we kind of go through the question's quite long, but one thing he says, do you notice a trend of teams trying to expose our left side? So that would be Bertrand, Gineppo, whoever's playing over there. And for that, from my perspective, I would say that has to do with I think with Gineppo playing there. Not that he always plays in that position, but I think Gineppo is, if you look at our team, I think he's the defensive liability. He's the one that is most often out of position and leaving Bertrand exposed. And Bertrand is getting up there, right? Like if there's a place we need to add some depth, it's definitely in those fullback positions. And Bertrand does fine. I think Bertrand is pretty good. He does slow the ball down a little bit more probably than other people. But I think if you leave him exposed and don't give him the cover from that left-hand side, I think that is what's going to happen. And I don't know, that's it for me. I think Gineppo offers a lot going forward, but he's unpredictable. And I think that works both for us and against us, depending on whether we're playing, whether we have the ball, we're in possession or out of possession, I think.
Yeah, and I would probably chuck just a little bit in the defence of Gineppo. I think Bertrand can be hot and cold himself. I mean, like I said, I do agree. I think, but Bertrand's always divided fans. So I know some fans would drop him and bring someone else in, as you said about depth. Some people would have him there. I think he needs. I think there's one thing that he's not had for a while and they tried it with Matt Targett, and it didn't work. Competition. Bertrand does not have a left-back competition. I mean, Bokins is there, but he doesn't seem to be... He plays for the B team at the moment, and I think he's got a future in him, but I don't think Ralph sees him ready now. So, and obviously we've been linked with, I get that name right, but Brandon Williams from Man United, which we were linked with in summer. So I could see him possibly coming in, and he can play left and right, so he could probably help cover what Carl Walker Peters. Obviously, he hasn't got much cover. One injury for him. Valerie, obviously, is another one. He's not getting
right.
And Ralph doesn't seem, I'll put this in a nice possible way, but he doesn't seem interested. He hasn't been on the bench, and we had 9 substitutes at the weekend, and he wasn't one of them.
Right.
So that proves to me that Ralph's not really. So I think possibly a move to Williams would be a smart idea on loan. Get some depth in that sort of area.
Yeah, well, and Williams can play either side as well. And I think for all the talk of how great and how much Ralph talks up the academy players, he's shown it up top. And Lindeloof's come on a couple of times. Tella got to play. We've seen Diallo in the team, and he obviously isn't an academy product, but Smallbone was in and around the team for a while. And so as much as we've seen that further forward, defensively, especially the fullback areas, we haven't seen that. And there isn't maybe the confidence in those players. And I also think that the fullbacks are asked to do a lot. If I think Jack Stevens is probably the only person that's come in recent seasons that hasn't been a fullback or hasn't been, Bertrand or Kyle Walker-Peters who's looked anywhere near decent. I think every time we put somebody else in there, you think of Danzo, you think of some of these other people who have slotted in at times, and they didn't look good when we had, James Ward-Prowse playing right wing back.
When Ward-Prowse was like that, he was quite good, but the things we don't want Ward-Prowse doing that.
Right.
He is mainstay in the midfield.
And I think...
that's why we need that depth in that area to be, so we don't have to worry about putting someone there that shouldn't be there. You get what I mean?
Right. And I think the difference between having Højbjerg there or Bertrand there, that there's a huge difference in how the team plays. So it's going to be difficult to find somebody to fill in that spot, but I definitely think that having somebody there to compete and push and learn from Bertrand, because Bertrand's not going to be able to do this, just like Walcott won't be able to do this forever. Bertrand's not going to be able to hold this up forever. So that kind of does that. We'll move on. Move on to a couple of questions. Looking forward to Fulham. I did mention Højbjerg just in that position. All I meant by that was looking at players that we had played in the fullback positions in times past, and how the team looks different then versus having actual fullbacks. That was all. So I know he's not on the team, so nobody has to tell me that. He's Jose Mourinho's favorite player, which I think at time of recording they are losing to Leicester City. I think. Is that still happening?
It's currently 2-0.
2-0. Oh no. Poor Jose. How will he ever recover? And Alderweireld own goal. That makes me sad, actually. And who he doesn't like? He probably doesn't like Danny Ings because he put him on a poster not long ago. So I remember that. Anyway, they can just point to the 4-0 probably and say, how about that? So anyway, we'll stop there. Looking forward, Romeu suspended for next week. In Ings, we don't know the details about the injury yet. So are you at all worried about those two spots? Obviously, I think Diallo is going to come in, right? For that, Tab says that as well, Tim Bizance. And so, I guess walk me through your lineup for Fulham and how you think that game will go, given they do look a little bit improved. They could put Mitrovic up top and give us try to go long and bypass the press. But who do you think starts for us?
Well, I think it will probably. I think obviously the goalkeeper state. There might be. It's a tough one on the defence. Bringing in Sisalou. I hope I'm saying that right. Bringing in Sisalou. Possibly in defence for a debut. Obviously we have Diallo in mid, and obviously it depends on what happens with Danny. However, I think if he is back, he may leave him on the bench. But because we've got a week, we've got a week. We've got longer preparation for him. He may be back, which I hope he is. But then he's got to make a decision there. Does he do Walcott and Adams with, obviously, I think Armstrong may come back in, and then he's got to make a decision on Gineppo or Redmond. So there's a couple. It's tough, really. Fulham's going to be. I think it's going to be actually quite a tough game. Actually, because they've come into a little bit of form. But I'm just glad we don't have to face Lamina. So that's.
Oh, what do you mean? I think that would give us a better chance.
But show us what he's fighting for.
Yeah. But obviously he can't play given the fact that he is on loan from us, so he's out of the game. But who can play is Harrison Reed, and so we could see Harrison Reed against the guy who replaced him in Ibrahima Diallo. So we'll have to see how that goes. That could be an interesting match. But as you said, a week to prepare for that. And then followed up very quickly by a match against at home to West Ham, who I really want to beat, and then a short turnaround again against Liverpool. So, kind of still a tough schedule a little bit, and I wouldn't say I'm not worried because I think we're a very capable team, but I am worried. Like it's just kind of how it goes. I'm trying to look.
West Ham. Get one over them. I mean, we've West Ham has been one of them. They've thrashed us a few times at their stadium, and they've come to us and done quite well. So yeah, you're right. That's one of them games that I feel like if we can beat them, we literally have turned the corner. That'll be one of them games where it's another one of them where you see how far we've gone.
Right.
And if we beat them, I think that'd be another. I know everyone say, yeah, but that's West Ham, but because of the fact how difficult they've been to play when we face them, it'd be nice to actually get a victory.
Yeah, and I did say short turnaround between West Ham and Liverpool, but it's just because I can't do math, so it's actually it's almost a week. So
and obviously Liverpool beat as well.
Yeah. So a tough run of fixtures, and for us, I think still we're kind of in the middle of it. But I would expect kind of much the same team against Fulham because I think, at least from my perspective, you go there and win, and then you take West Ham as it comes because West Ham are also playing well. They're not going to be an easy team to beat. But knowing Ralph, as much as we know about him, I can't see a lot of rotation from. I just don't think that's going to happen. The only thing that could be is, no, that's it. We do play at 3 p.m. on Boxing Day, followed by I think it's a 6 p.m. kickoff against West Ham. So there's not a lot of travel. It's only London and back, and so that's there as well. So I don't know. I don't think we'll have much rotation. I don't see. Depending on the severity of the Ings injury, I don't really see Ings playing against Fulham. You could see, I think it would be Walcott, and then probably Armstrong on the right, and probably has to be Geneva because I don't think Redmond has earned it. And I don't really foresee him starting. One of the young guys up there. I think he'll bring them off the bench, if anything. And I kind of think the back line will stay the same. I honestly, I think maybe if we see Salisu, it'll be that Shrewsbury match, which it's a huge draw, at home. But and also some people asked about what's the chance we could say for Lamina, but he won't be in the team and there won't be any fans there because it's at Fulham and they're in London. And if in case you missed the memo, Christmas is canceled. So there we go. But yeah, I think unless you have other thoughts, Jay, I think we're good.
Yeah, I mean, I said London's in the worst possible scenario, so yeah, Lamina will be sitting at home.
They're in the worst possible scenario unless you're Portsmouth, and then that is the worst possible scenario because you're still Portsmouth and in the same tier.
Portsmouth. I mean, no tears for them, just high tears.
That's right. Also, I just want to give a shout out to one of the patrons of the show, Justin Woodward. 35 years ago today, the day that we're recording on Sunday, his first Saints match. So, Justin, thanks for supporting the team for all that time, and then also for supporting the show and being a great part of the conversation. Hopefully, you'll get back to enjoying the football all around you very soon. But of course, all the restrictions are kind of ruining that for you, and I apologize. I wish I had some control over it, but obviously I don't.
Well, I've got one more thing actually. I was just going to say, obviously I know some of your people that listen and follow my page. I was just going to say I would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and obviously thanks for the support from you, and obviously anyone that follows me too, and obviously, yeah, I just want to say thank you. I mean, it's been a crap year, and I hope 2021's much better, and just, yeah, thanks to everyone for supporting me, and obviously you as well. So yeah, I thought I'll just have that fit in. That's all right.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. And Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to all the listeners, and happy holidays and everything. But there are a lot of different holidays that people celebrate. So I hope that the time with your family hopefully is there for you to enjoy. And it's not, it's definitely different. Obviously we've been through Thanksgiving here in the States, and it was very different. And this Christmas for us will be, there won't be any family. It'll be basically, I think the people that are in our kind of bubble, my brother, his wife, his kids are here. Obviously you can probably hear them in the background. And my mom, and that's it. And so we will see them. Everybody else will be on Zoom, which, as a teacher, I thought I was done Zooming for the break, but apparently we have more Zoom calls to do. So that'll be all right. And, I think just I'll probably actually enjoy it. I'll sleep more. I'll get to watch Saints and actually be able to remember what happens versus the, all that stuff. But, yeah, I hope everybody takes care and enjoys their time, and, Merry Christmas to you, and congratulations on the page. I know this year has been rough for that in particular. And, I'm just glad that you're still doing it. And I'm glad that you're, finding some success with it and actually enjoying it, which I think is the most important thing, because, as much as we've talked kind of off, record and all that stuff, it's been, this time when you're isolated from people can be really, really difficult. And sometimes things that we used to enjoy, we don't enjoy. And it's tough to know whether to stick with it or to just drop it. And so we've talked about that a lot, and I'm just glad that you are enjoying it, right now. And in everything that's going on, that it is a source of, something that you can enjoy and kind of invest yourself in. And so yeah, so just, enjoy it. Merry Christmas. And, I'm actually looking forward to taking like a slight recording break and all that stuff over the next couple of weeks, and just kind of, focusing on family, which hopefully you get to do as well.
Yeah, thanks very much. Like I said, all the support for everyone's been great. Obviously, you especially, since obviously me talking about my page, and like I said, I think it's only going to get better, and all the people that comment every day helps me out a lot, and I didn't see any reason to stop all that. So yeah, so basically for me, thanks, and obviously I hope everyone keeps safe, and obviously all the government. I know obviously I'm not here to do that, but follow all the rules as much as you can, and stay safe.
Yeah.
But you don't have to listen to me, though. Don't worry about that.
No, nobody listens to me anyway. It's fine. Obviously not the kids, as I've told them several times to be quiet, and they're still, doing whatever. But anyway, I think it's time for breakfast, so I'm gonna go do that. And Jay, it's been a pleasure, and I look forward to having you back on the screen, back on the show again in the future. And thanks for everything, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again.
And that does it for this week's episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it. Special thanks this week goes out to Jay Grant of the Southampton Page. If you don't already follow the Southampton Page, you can do so on Twitter at Southampton Page. It will keep you up to date with all the things going on around the Southampton Football Club. And I have to thank Jay again for all the support he's given the show and helping grow the show and spread the show to so many of you. So thank you to Jay, and thanks to you for listening. Next week, we will have a Total Recall episode out with Dean Hammond. That is done in conjunction with the Saints Archive. And if you would like to learn more about the Saints Archive, please follow the links in the show notes. Follow them on Twitter, Instagram, join the Facebook community. You may run into former players in the chat. You can have conversations with them. They'll answer your questions. And that's what we're going to do with Dean Hammond on next week's Total Recall episode. To make sure you don't miss that, please subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Acast, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, or wherever you listen. All the links are available at southamptondelivery.com. And if you're using a podcast app that allows you to rate and review, please do so. It really does help new people find out about the show. I'd like to also take a second to thank Matt Beeling of the We Are Southampton page on Instagram for doing the logo for the show. And all music comes courtesy of the Free Music Archive at freemusicarchive.org. The intro song is Epic Song by Boxcat Games, and the end of show credits that you're listening to right now is Aim is True by Poddington Bear. As I mentioned, next week we'll be back with a Total Recall episode, but until then, enjoy your Christmas, enjoy your holiday, and as with the City result, just try to make the best of the situation we have, even though it's not what any of us would actually want. That does it for this week. Newsletter out on Friday. Subscribe to that at southamptondelivery.com. And until next time, remember that together, we march on. Girls, please be quiet. Yes, Dad, I'm sorry. And then they'll be loud again in 2 seconds, which is what kids do. And I'll rage. Anyway, I can't rage quit parenting, can I? Like, no, it's not. It's not something you can do.